Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Christian with Reaper Discs, and today I want to talk about my favorite all-around distance driver in disc golf, the Innova Wraith. The Wraith is an 11-speed, slightly overstable distance driver that is extremely versatile over a wide array of different applications and can do a lot of different things depending on how you throw it. So for a little slower arm speeds, the Wraith is going to be a nice, predictable, overstable driver. While thrown faster by more advanced players, this is going to be a good neutral and very straight flying driver. Me personally, I use the Wraith as a controlled distance driver, something that, I need to be accurate with out to about 430 feet, not necessarily something that I need to get all the way up to my 12-speed drivers like my destroyers. Instead, if I'm looking for more control with my drives while still maintaining a good semblance of distance, I'm going to be leaning pretty hard on the Wraith, and I actually bag multiples for this reason. The Wraith is very controllable. Only being an 11 speed, this is actually closer to what most disc golfers should be throwing because a lot of players can't actually throw fast enough to really get the appropriate flight out of 12 and 13 speed drivers. A lot of people just simply aren't able to throw that 72, 73 mile an hour shot to really get those real high-speed drivers up to speed. Instead, dialing back to a 10 or 11 speed driver like the Wraith is actually going to be pretty good for, overall performance, but that's a different video. The Wraith falls really well into this category because you can control it, still get distance, and be extremely accurate all in one really, really good disc. Having all of those boxes checked off in one package by one mold is really hard to come by, and that's what makes the Wraith really stand out. So when I got this disc out and was testing it, I started off on a hyzer. It did have a little bit of flip up to it, and it flipped kind of slow, pushed forward after it got to flat, and just had a nice straight flight before having a good steady fade at the very end. This was very, just typical of a standard hyzer flip to flat and then a nice little fade at the very end. It's very predictable, very controllable, and this is a shot that you can replicate over and over and over again because the Wraith just naturally wants to do that specific flight. When thrown flat, it really got over, but not all the way over onto like a big turnover angle. Instead, it got over a little bit, but glided from left to right a lot. It doesn't have to have a lot of anhyzer angle in order to get that left to right movement, but once it started going to the right, it really wanted to carry that flight before gently flexing back at the very end. When thrown on an anhyzer, this disc is very good for distance. I got it up in the air on an Annie angle, and it held for a good fair amount of the flight, and slowly had a nice long panning flight back to flat before fading a little at the very end. Now thrown on full power, this got up to flat and flipped over onto an anhyzer into just a big turnover. So once this got over onto the anhyzer angle after the flip, it really had that nice slow pan. And this is great for just raw distance because as long as that disc is holding the turnover, it's continuing to push forward down the fairway and it's not really slowing down and falling back out of the sky. This disc really held that for a long time. By the time it finally got back to flat and started flexing back, this thing had pushed an incredibly far distance down the fairway. Like I had mentioned, this disc can be used for a lot of different things. A little slower arm speed players are going to find this to be a nice, overstable, dependable distance driver, whereas more advanced players who throw a little bit harder and can generate a little more spin are going to get a really nice straight flight. Another big thing about the Wraith is that it is available in a multitude of different plastic blends from DX and G Star, which is going to be fairly understable, all the way up to Halo, which is going to be pretty overstable. It's also available in probably one of the widest ranges of weights that you can get in a disc, all the way down to in the 120s, and being that really ultralight driver, which those are a thing kind of in their own world. We're not really going to talk about those today. So, in my opinion, like I said, the Wraith is one of, if not the best, all-around driver in the sport of disc golf. There's a reason the champ has his name on this disc. If it's good enough for King Climo, it's definitely good enough for any player in the sport. What do you guys think about the Wraith? Do you guys find it as dependable and controllable as I do? Drop me a comment and let me know. If you want a Wraith for yourself, click on the link in the description of this video to head over to reaperdisc.com to get one there. Like us on social media at ReaperDisc to keep up to date with all new releases and restocks. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get to keep up to date with all the content we're putting out. Again, I'm Christian with Reaper Discs, and we'll see you guys in the next video.